Terry, Arsenal are not buying both Sesko and Gyokeres. It's one or the other since Arteta and Arsenal want Sheshko's mother for using.
Oh no, I think it's supposed to be Sesko, but also
want using using him. How do you boys see that going? Because the news is we were talking about earlier on in the show. The news around it is crazy. Arsenal working on both those deals. I know some gooners think they might get both, but there is no credible source that has yet said they're looking for two number 9s. What do you think is going to be, George? Sesko or Gyokeres?
Do you know what? It's a tough one because it, like I said, it keeps leaning one way one week, then the next week it's leaning towards the other player. So like, it's a bit of like who is going to come in. I would say Gyokeres is the better option, and if they choose Sesko, they'd be very silly because a team in their position needs someone that can compete with the likes of Haaland, compete with the likes of Salah. Because Liverpool and Man City are only going to push on next season. Gyokeres is the only player I think in world football right now that's going to compete with those numbers that's available. Sesko is a player that's just going to come in, maybe be good for a bit. He looks very similar to Havertz, if you ask me. Not really good with the finish. He's decent in the air, but outside of that, his all-round game is just like, he's good with link-up, but he's not a goal scorer. He's not a gifted goal scorer. So I think if they're smart, they're going to go for the Gyokeres deal. It's also cheaper than Sesko, it looks like, when you actually talk about the all-round package. But I've got a feeling they're going to go for Sesko. I've just got Arsenal have this thing for young players. He's also really tall. He's 6'4". He fits in with their, set piece FC. It's just with Arsenal, they always tend to go for the players with potential rather than the proven ones. And I think they're going to lean on this Sesko for that. And also, I feel like he'd be more happy to just come in and be a part, just be a part of the squad. Whereas Gyokeres, they're going to have to uproot some players like Havertz and some of these forward, they're not going to get as much time on the pitch. Gyokeres has to start. He's going to be on big money, but also he's probably going to have to adapt his system a little to, bring Gyokeres into that. I reckon with Sesko, he'll just be like, look, Sesko, you're coming in to be played this way, not the other way around where with Gyokeres, they're going to have to work on it for themselves. So, yeah, I think they'll end up being Sesko, but they'd be very silly to make that signing.
I don't think there's any mileage with them playing games right now, because if footballers have got mad egos, we know that now. Like, that's the game, the way the games have gone. You got your young players like Garnacho expecting to be part of the top 6 teams and then playing Champions League after a career where you can say you've done niche. You know what I mean? You've won FA Cup and that's it. You got people like Delap demanding Champions League football, and he played for Ipswich. But so players have these big egos. If this ploy is true, that this is a real ploy by Arsenal, playing Gyokeres off Sesko to try and get the Sesko deal done. What if Leipzig don't actually lower the price to what they want? Their game is now out in the open. The game is now known, and now they have to go back to Gyokeres like, oh, actually no, we have to get you now. And he's like, he could be like, mate, I've seen what you was doing. You didn't really want me. You just wanted to use me to try and get another player. I'm not going to sign for you anymore because I don't feel truly wanted. So then Arsenal miss out on 2 players. That's why I don't actually believe it's this weird game, this media game, this transfer game that they're playing with these. Because we know Berta has a track record of lining up 2 players and then picking one. That's completely different than using one just to get the other. You know what I mean? Like, they genuinely want Sesko, they genuinely want Gyokeres, and it's just about making that decision. So I think that they will get Gyokeres, just for the main fact that I don't think Leipzig will bow down to their demands, bow down to their games and all these things, because they don't need to. Sesko's got a contract. Sesko can stay there for another year, and they'll still get similar money that they're demanding next year anyway. Okay, cool, they may want 80 million this year or whatever, how much it is. But next year, they can still get 70. They can still get 60 million if he has a good season. So I think Gyokeres is the guy that they get in the end.
Do you know what I'm loving about it, though? Is again, just as a spectator, I was watching the Arsenal fans in this debate, because they are genuinely split 50-50. Yeah. It feels that way. There are some that are just like, Sesko's the guy for the system. He suits us better at this, better at that, better at the other. There are others. Some of them are also like, Arteta wants him, so I want him. Then there are others that are just like, because Arteta wants Sesko, I don't. There is literally that. Like, that's a big thing. but it's Gyokeres. Then you get the flip flops who I've seen for 2 weeks for 2 weeks in May were like Gyokeres. Then when they moved on to Sesko, they're like, actually, I think he's the guy. Now they're like, actually, Gyokeres is the dude again. I remember Igal last week saying that he feels that no one trying to buy Gyokeres is a massive red flag for how bad he is. And I think I said at the time, well, maybe he's already picked his club. Maybe he's already told them that Man United is where he wants to go, which is why no one else is bidding for him. A lot of people have misconstrued that as, oh, Terry said United were getting him. No, it was a suggestion to why something was happening, not the reason. Ironically, it's Igal's club Arsenal that have come in for him. So I'm so intrigued to get his opinion on this now. But I just think they're going to, there's always a risk. But I think where they're in a good position, I think both Sesko and Gyokeres want them as their number one choice. So they're in that kind of power position where both those players want to join them. And seemingly they know that they must know in the footballing world they're negotiating with both, but they're both pushing for that move. The question is, are United fans going to cry if we end up getting Gyokeres and we're second choice? Me personally, no. I just want better players at my club. This isn't like us three all chasing after the same beautiful, sophisticated young lady. Not that we all would, because the situations, but hypothetically, right? Tell Kai, I'm just hypothetical, KJ. I don't get in trouble. It's different if it's like, I prefer George, but I do really like KJ. Terry, it's just because you got a nice car, but I don't want you, right? And then George says, no, I found someone better. KJ's like, I just got married. And then she's like, oh, Till, do you fancy going for a drive? If I say yes to that, I'm a bit of a simp. But that's a personal, emotive relationship thing. This is professionalism. And as long as we bring in someone that scores goals, I'm very relaxed personally. But I get I've seen some United fans who have, again, I think they're the incels who are like, no, we can't accept this rejection.
First choice.
No, it's funny that you say that about the Arsenal fans, Terry, because that's exactly what they're doing. What they're trying to do is get ahead of the curve with the rejection. So they want the player that doesn't reject them. They want the player that ultimately is the one that's going to end up at Arsenal. So because let's have it right. If Gyokeres lands and all those people that say they wanted Sesko, they're going to be like, oh, Gyokeres scored 50 goals last season. Oh, yeah. And then they're going to start using all the stats as to why Gyokeres was a better signing. And that's exactly what's happening here, man. So,
Joe, you made a point earlier about Gyokeres joining and how Arteta would have to like adjust things to bring him in. I think they should. I think he needs to. I think he needs to adjust things just for the fact that whatever he's been doing has only been getting him to a certain point in the league and in competitions. Maybe someone like Gyokeres would be that tactical switch or that tactical change that is it might be a risk because it's not your known formula, but it might be the little change that you need to win. You know what I'm saying? Like right now, if you get Sesko and all it is plug and play, history dictates that you will fall short in some way, shape, or form. And I know that sounds a bit harsh. Or you could be like, oh, but it could be the time that it works. And there's a big chance that it could. But if 3 years in a row you get second, if you are slowly getting closer to the Champions League or getting closer to cups, but there's always a reason why you get knocked out, maybe innovation is what you need. Maybe it's not just consistently going for the same plan. Maybe it's like, okay, maybe in the final third we tweak these things with Gyokeres in there and he gets us the goals that gets over the line. So I think Gyokeres would be the smarter signing, even if it is something where Arteta has to adapt to that. Because I think it'll be a good adaptation. Because I don't think Arteta's a crap coach, by the way. I don't think, he doesn't know how to adapt to players. He doesn't know how to like change things when he needs to. I think he can. And because I think he can, that's why I think, well, this adaptation with Gyokeres could be the thing that takes you over the line.
AJ here says, as an Arsenal fan, I like both. Sesko plays for a team with the least chance created, so the amount of goals scored doesn't reflect his ability. I slightly lean towards Gyokeres. Berta will pick the cheaper of the two. He might. I mean, I don't think it's about cheaper. I think it's really about the footballing side. But it's funny if you put in the comments going, what rejection? Neither want to reject us. I think what George was alluding to, correct me if I'm wrong, George, is it's either the one that rejects you or just being ahead of the curve in terms of the one Arsenal pick. So you can say, I backed the winning horse rather than it's because I listen, it's not all Arsenal fans, but I've seen some go from a whole season of Gyokeres is the guy to actually I was wrong, Sesko's it, to last week going, shit, we're going back for Gyokeres now. And I've tweeted out all these things. It's almost just sometimes you've got to be. That's why I decided I used to do this when I first started making content. If United wanted a player and then we missed out, I'd do the whole. Actually, I did my research and it'll be bad for X, Y, and Z. And I just got bored of lying for the sake of I've got to show I'm a good United fan here. No, if I say for a year I want Gyokeres and Arsenal get him, I'm going to say I'm gutted. What a signing for Arsenal. If Mbermo, who I rate, does turn us down now and join Spurs, I'm not going to suddenly pretend that it's an overrated, flat track bully who only does it at a small club. That's why he couldn't handle joining United. I don't know. I've just dropped all that bitterness in my life. I can't do it anymore. Like at the end of the day, I agree with this guy. I think both players are very good and will help Arsenal. I actually don't think either are a bad signing, personally, but I think Gyokeres will be the better one. The whole thing with Arsenal, RB Leipzig, and Sporting and United is a four-way tactical chess game with Sesko, Gyokeres, and Osimhen stuck in the middle in mind games. Well, maybe Arsenal have only bid because Amorim has phoned up Arteta saying, "Can you guys bid? So my owners give me more money."
Wait, who said? Wait, oh, it was like Eddie and Luca who said that.
Maybe Arsenal are doing it to help Man United out. Maybe that's the whole. That's the whole ploy. That's the whole, but it's gone wrong because the player decided he wants Arsenal.
Yeah.
You ever seen those films where someone's like, right, what I want you to do is I want you to like go and ask out there's American rom-coms, go and ask out my girl, take her out on a date. I want to see how faithful she is. But then the guy that goes in to pretend to try and get her ends up really liking her and it all goes wrong. Like that's what might happen in that case. But yeah, we'll see what happens with that one.